Welcome everybody to the Social Dig, the greatest underrated show on the World Wide Web. I am your host, Mr. Rob G. And as always, we're going to be digging into the topics that keep you talking and the talk that keeps you thinking. So come on in, kick your feet up, get comfortable, get an ice cold beverage, get ready to join the conversation. It's been a little while since we've been online with each other. So glad to be back. So glad to be back in the saddle. Sometimes you have to unplug from ufology. You know, that's what I'm learning doing this show and being so involved in the topic and the research that it takes to put on a show. You know, there's sometimes you have to decompress, and I was able to do that. I went ahead and went out of state, as most of you know, took a trip out to Texas, the great state of Texas, on some family stuff. You know, tried to get into the tourist side of it, but unfortunately I did not get to do that. It was more time consuming than I thought it would be. So but nevertheless, it was a great trip. I did see a lot along the way. Rode along the United States-Mexico border, which was awesome. And yeah, it was just a lot to see. I ran across the Border Patrol, and actually I drove out there. It was a straight shot. So I drove straight from Southern California, hit I-10, and then drove through every single state until I reached Houston, Texas, and did it within 24 hours. It was under 24 hours. So if you've never seen the United States, if you're here in the United States, and most of us fly a lot, right? So we just fly from here to there, and we bypass a lot of this great country that we live in, and it's just so much to see out there. So I would recommend, if you ever have the time, get a good block of time and consider taking a drive instead of flying, or even take the train. The train is a good option as well, so you don't have to drive, but you still get a chance to pass through a lot of different sceneries. You'd be shocked at how diverse the terrain is in the United States. Even just from California going to Texas, that's only 4 states. But if you look at it, we went from desert, we went into the red sands of New Mexico, the mesas, then we hit over into Texas, the plains. It was just beautiful. Definitely beautiful experience. Recommend anyone to do it if you have a chance. But other than that, I'm just glad to be back in the saddle. You know, we're going to get to business. We're going to lay down some shows here coming up. I know we left off on Intergalactic Capitalism was the last show. And hey, we get deep here at the Social Dig. That's kind of what we do. That's kind of one of the mantras here, is that we are going to touch on subjects that at least open up the conversation to build the path for humanity to travel on. And you know, I have no regrets for that, and I will always be open to touching those tough subjects. So with that being said, let me go ahead and take a look and see. Oh, we got Derek Galloway in the building, of course. Like always, Derek Galloway, what it do, man? Yeah, just was talking about my trip, man. It was pretty awesome. You know, and like I say, I know you took a trip when you went out to the SOR party out in Vegas. So you got to drive across the country. So you understand what I'm saying when I say there's a lot of beautiful terrain and places that we have here in the United States. A lot of beautiful things to see. So I know you got a good dose of that on your trip as well. But what I'm going to do is, you know, this isn't going to be too heavy of a show. We're going to be talking about the state of confirmation, you know, pertaining to UFOs and aliens, and where are we at in that process, and have we stalled, you know, because one thing that I touched on was last year, roughly about this time, we had a lot of stuff going on that seemed like the momentum had been building towards disclosure. We actually had Dr. Gary Nolan, who had come out and done a couple interviews, giving you with some compelling information, and he hinted last year that by the end of that year, 2022, we would have some things, some revelations being released. Same thing with James Fox. James Fox said that he had looked further into the Virginia sighting, and he had some information that he was privy to that he thought would be released by the end of 2022. And what happened? We had the what should have been a climactic U.F.O report coming out in October of 2022, October 31st to be exact. It was due by. But guess what? It was delayed and pushed into 2023. So I feel like in that for 2022, and I had obviously a prediction where Rob would tell you that disclosure would come by the end of that year, or at least just some form of something that let us know that this thing is real, what we're dealing with here. So, but it had got kind of knocked off by the UAP report being late, kind of just blatant disrespect and disregard by the DOD to the people, saying we don't have to tell you anything, right? That's exactly what they did. So this year, we're going to be talking about what is leading us to the feeling or the belief that confirmation is just over the horizon. You know, we had some pretty powerful moments this year that we're going to end up going over here. So like I say, it's not going to be too deep of a show. It's going to be pretty light. And what we'll do, because I actually want to jump into our news story. Oh, Bryson's Folly, what it do? Yeah, I kind of want to just jump into the news, and then we'll see where it takes us. I don't know how long we'll go today, at least an hour, maybe more, but we'll see what it does here. So with that being said, you already know what time it is. It is time for us to jump into our disclosure news. So let's do it. All right, this week in disclosure news. So I've been gone for a couple weeks, but there really still hasn't been too much going on in ufology, and that's kind of one of the puzzling things, and kind of one of the reasons why we're going to talk about what we're going to talk about today. So, but I did find a couple of things that I wanted to look at. So let's see what we have here. We're going to start out with first, obviously, I forgot this myself. Ask the chat. We're going to do Ask the Chat like we do every single show, and post a response to the question in the live chat, or call the call-in line or message line, which is 856-843-3444 or 856-THE-DIG. Derek Galloway definitely reaches out to us through that line, and he actually gave me some pretty cool data on some NASA photos, so that was pretty awesome, Derek. Appreciate that. And we'll put that into a show coming up here. But for anyone else, definitely save the number in your phone. And if you have any questions regarding today's topic, any topics that you might want to cover, anything we've talked about in the past, or you just want to tell us what's on your mind, sharing experience, don't hesitate to use that line. It is a 24/7 line. And once we get enough people comfortable with using the number, then we'll just activate the live call-in so we can have you talk live on the show about whatever it is that we're talking about. I'd love to hear from you guys and see where your head is at on this road to confirmation. So, yeah, with that being said, let me check here. Oh, Tom King. Hey, Tom King, thank you for coming through. That Tom King is a legend. Let me go ahead and bring that up here real quick. Let's flip through there. Bryce's Folly, what it do? Derek Galloway, feels like you just robbed G. That's right. Derek Galloway. Oh, feels like I just left. Yeah. And I hope that was the case, man, because we have some great content here that I hope held people over, at least for the time being. But you have to decompress from this ufology subject. As Tom King well knows, you can't stay, buried in this without either going straight crazy or just breaking down. I mean, So, it gets pretty deep, and especially when, I do the show, obviously, and then when I'm not doing the show, I'm researching and looking into things in relation to this topic. So it ends up being a full, 24/7 cycle of being just dipped in ufology. And I figured out that with that being said, because I'm not going to stop research, I'm not going to stop bringing you as great a content as I can by being versed on what it is that we'll talk about. But definitely, there has to be times where we definitely step back and say, okay, there's other things that we need to look at in our current lives and kind of do it that way. And I hope you feel that way as viewers too. Sometimes you have to unplug or turn off your YouTube or, turn it on network TV and maybe watch some other things and then come back in because the gravity of what it is that we're dealing with can make anybody feel that strain. But Tom King is definitely in the building. Derek Galloway, Tom King, the legend. 2 weeks flew by, definitely. And what are my thoughts on the new Peru videos? Oh, I haven't seen those, Derek Galloway. Maybe you have to send me a link or something and I can go ahead and take a look at those. I was totally unaware. I looked into, some of the things that I thought maybe wouldn't have been beat to death by now, but no, I haven't seen the new Peru videos. I will tell you, though, I did see the last Peru image, the one where it was like a perfectly defined gray being standing behind some grass with the light shining out. Thought that picture was probably not a real picture. I think what happens is in ufology, when you have something that breaks like that, the more time that passes allows more people to sit and think of ways to cloud up or muddy up the water. So they end up figuring, oh, okay, well, I can create a picture and say it's from Peru. And then, so the things that break right away within the first day or two of the sighting, now those I really, like to give more credibility to because there isn't enough time in most cases for someone to create some elaborate hoax there. So, but I would love to see the videos because I'm intrigued to see what has come out from there for sure. But looking into this and kind of jumping into what we're looking at is topics for the news would be Avi Loeb finds proof. So we know that Avi Loeb went ahead and went out there in the ocean and trudged for artifacts or material from a meteor from 2014 that had exploded over the ocean, and he had actually ended up finding some of these spherical, round objects that he was said he was going to the lab to go ahead and analyze. And I guess at this point they've done some analysis and figured out what they think that they are, or at least that these things may not be from our galaxy. Okay, yeah, appreciate it, Derek. Appreciate that. So, and then Burchett showing pessimism. So, one of the main guys out there in the Congress that's kind of heading this movement for confirmation within the government is Tim Burchett. And I've seen him over the last couple years. I've seen him in moments when he's fired up and he's so matter of fact about where we're going on this subject, and nothing will stop us from getting to the answers. But then I've seen him in moments where he's kind of, based on information that I'm sure he hears or knows from the inside that we're not privy to, he ends up having a whole different demeanor when being interviewed by the press, where he'll, make comments like, we're going to do this, but these things may not happen because X, Y, Z, and then kind of, making me feel like he's privy to some information that lets him know that these efforts are going to be squashed, which isn't really a big secret to us from what we know, because we know if you've looked anything And yeah, if you looked at anything in ufology in the last 75, 80 years, then you know for a fact that when there's been ups, there's been downs, but there's been more downs than ups. And those downs happen every time one of these entities come in and try to squash the movement. And we will be talking about that on the upcoming show because I have a show entitled Top Secret Government. You know, who's the top secret government? We will be talking about that, I believe, on Sunday's show. So definitely want to make sure you're here for that. Sunday, 5 p.m. Pacific time. We'll be talking about top secret government. So let me look at the comments. Bryce's Folly says, I will wait until Avi Loeb posts the full paper. The abstract posted so far is interesting. Yeah, I mean, just based on some of the information that he says, definitely says there's still more to go on that. And Bryce Folly says they've got to Burchett. Yeah, I kind of, it makes me feel like that. Or at least in these skiffs, in these classified briefings, he's being led to believe that you won't get any further than this point, and it's kind of saddening when you hear him kind of lean to that. And by the way, who knows who they are? Intelligence Community, Department of Defense, Deep State, exactly, and that will be something we will be covering. Well, they have been on break all month, plenty of time to discourage and dissuade, obfuscate the facts, and misdirect people, as per usual for the last 80 years. You're absolutely right. So hopefully someone else. So we were introduced to, and which I was actually shocked by during at this UFO hearing, we were introduced to more people in the Congress that actually had an interest in this thing. As we all felt going in, that the people on our team would have been Burchett, maybe Rubio, Gillibrand, just certain few people that we've been made aware of that actually took the subject seriously. But hearing came and we actually saw like Luna and then AOC and even Matt Gaetz. So I think with that there's more than we know as far as allies go within the government. They can kind of push this, hopefully push this thing forward. So give Tim Burchett a break. Let one of these other guys pick up the reins for the moment, and then kind of switch it off. Because it's, if you're going to get to a point to where your government admits that this thing is real, it's going to take our senators and Congress members to go ahead and do that. Personally, my view has always been that disclosure or confirmation in this case would come from the people based on everything that we've gone through and all of our own experiences and sightings. That if we all figured out how we could put together our data for our benefit, then we'd be able to have a collective of information that we could then show to the rest of humanity and circumvent government confirmation or circumvent the media being involved or wanting to participate in this. But I always say that if they do provide something from the government, then that would be a cherry on top. And I'm open to that. It's just I don't have a lot of faith in it, as Bryson Foley has pointed out, based on the obfuscation and everything that's going on for the last 80 plus years. It just doesn't give me a lot of hope. But, what I will say is that most of the people in the government are humans. I'll say most because I don't know about everyone. Some of them act like robots, truthfully, without compassion or any sort of feeling for other humans. So I'll say most people in government are humans just like we are. And then at the end of the day, you would hope that that human compassion comes out so that they want to go ahead and do this for the rest of humanity. So that would be the hope. Excuse me. So with that being said, Orez Toothbrush, thanks for coming through. And let's see. What's up, Rob? Hey, Derek. Okay. Bryson's Folly. Be sure to mark your calendars for that hearing. Mexico's Congress will hold September 12th at 4 p.m. CST. Ryan Graves and others with firsthand experiences will be there. Okay, what day is that of the week? Let me see. 4 p.m. CST. Is that live, Bryson? Do you know? 'Cause maybe we can stream that here and kind of talk about it. Let me see. Check my calendar. Yeah, so September 12th is a Tuesday. We could definitely just do a live that day. So 4 p.m. Let me put that on my calendar here. And that's why I'm glad we have a community of people in the know and people who stay up on this thing. So, because it's going to take us all to get to that, to get to where we need to go. So I am totally appreciative. Let me see. Yeah, yeah. If we can live stream it, we'll do that. All right, that is set. So appreciate that. And let's see. Definitely want Doug. Let's see. Definitely don't want Doug. Doug Christie. And here's I was gonna. I'm glad you brought up. Because we don't get political here really, but here's what I'll say. I look at the politicians all the same as far as that goes. I would have thought, and it's still early, so I guess we'll be able to wait and see. But I would have thought, being that this is such a big topic, that some of these candidates will end up taking this thing seriously if they believe it or not, right? I mean, you have to know that this topic right here is one of the biggest ones that has hit humanity in thousands of years. So there are definitely other, I'm sure, important talking points that they should talk about. But at the end of the day, I don't, this one's up there. This is probably top one to me, maybe two, three to others. But it's either way you look at it, it's still up there. And something that a candidate I would think would take seriously, but I guess we'll see. Um, let's see. Okay, Derek Galloway says, and there will be a surprise witness there. Is that at the Mexico hearing? Bryson Folly says, I have not heard confirmation if it will be live on YouTube. Okay, and if it will be streamed with closed captions. So I'll look into that. Spanish or a mixture of English Spanish. Yeah, and that can definitely make a difference as well. Derek says Telemundo TV. Okay. Well, you never know with that. So I guess we'll say I wish I had someone that, I mean, I know a little. We say Paquito. I know Paquito, but I don't know a whole lot. So I guess we'll see. But yeah, so Avi Loeb finding proof. So I did have a little actual video about that here. Let me see. All right, let's see. News Nation talk to Avi Loeb about that, and we'll see where we can go.
Scientists say for the first time in history, they have proved that the remains of a small meteor came from outside our solar system. A research team back in June retrieved the remnants of an object at the bottom of the Pacific Ocean. And tonight, their analysis suggests that the tiny metal spheres are like nothing we've seen on Earth or within our solar system. Joining me now is the scientist who led that mission. Avi Loeb is a Harvard theoretical astrophysicist and professor of science. He is also the best-selling author of Extraterrestrial, the first sign of intelligent life beyond Earth. And a new book is out just today called Interstellar, the search for extraterrestrial life and our future in the stars. Avi, welcome. It's really great to have you. And thank you for coming on News Nation to talk about your announcement today, that your expedition team, first of all, found more than 700 of these microscopic metallic spheres on the bottom of the ocean. You're announcing tonight that they come from outside our solar system. How do you know?
Thanks for having me. Well, we know by studying their composition. It was hard work, first of all, to get them. from an ocean that is more than a mile deep. These are the size of a grain of sand, less than the head of a pin, typically. They look beautiful, like metallic marbles, but they're tiny, a milligram each of them. And we found, as you said, the 700, brought them back to Harvard University and used the best instruments the world has to offer to analyze their composition. And lo and behold, we found that they have an abundance of several elements that is far beyond what you find in the solar system. These elements include beryllium, lanthanum, uranium, and some other heavy elements at an abundance that is hundreds of times more than solar system materials. We compared it to what you find on the Earth, the Moon, Mars, anywhere in the solar system, and nothing like it was seen before.
So how confident are you that it isn't from this solar system? And how significant is that? What does that mean?
Very confident. This is the first time that scientists analyzed materials from a large object, half a meter in size, that came from outside the solar system. More interestingly, this object was moving really fast, faster than 95% of the stars in the vicinity of the sun. And moreover, it had material strength that was tougher than all other space rocks recognized by NASA over the past decade. So that raises the possibility that it may be a Voyager-like meteor. Imagine Voyager colliding with a planet like Earth and burning up in its atmosphere. It would look like a meteor with an unusual material strength and unusually high speed because of its propulsion. And so what we want to figure out ultimately is whether it was technological in origin.
Right.
But to figure it out, we need a bigger piece of the object.
To figure out, so you can't tell if this was naturally made or if it was created by something or someone in some way.
That's right. I mean, it is difficult just from the composition of elements to tell that, but now we know where to look because we found those spheroids, these tiny marbles, in particular locations. We can go back there and search for bigger pieces. And of course, you can tell the difference between a rock and a technological gadget, because a gadget might have buttons on it. And then the question is, should we press a button?
Yeah, well, I got to be honest. The U.S. government has known that this meteor crashed in the Pacific since 2014. Why isn't NASA or the Department of Defense studying these things?
Good question. I mean, they have a day job, which is national security. This object has nothing to do. If it came from interstellar space, it doesn't care how we split the land on this rock in between nations. And that's not a matter that is related to national security. It's more in the realm of science. And the same is true, of course, for the testimony of David Grush that you reported about last month. And once again, anything to do with interstellar space should be dealt with by scientists, and the information should be shared by all humans.
Right. Well, Avi Loeb, congratulations on the conclusion. I look forward to hearing more information about whether or not we think this was natural or made by something. A lot of people mocked you for studying this and thinking this might have been from outside the solar system. And tonight, you proved them all that you are right. So congratulations.
Thank you.
All right.
And I would argue also that it's easier to get that information from the bottom of the Pacific Ocean than from politicians in Washington, D.C.
Oh, my goodness. You are so right. I think a lot of people might agree with you. Avi Loeb, great to have you on the show. Thanks again. Thanks so much.
All right. So with that being said, we have Dr. Avi Loeb. You know, and there's a lot of people that say different things about Avi Loeb. And first, before I say anything about that, what's up, Dr. Love? Thanks for coming through. All right. So yeah, Avi Loeb. So these sphericals. So when he first came out and said that they had found these things, well, first of all, I'm just glad that he actually got to the point to where he was able to back up some of the things that he was saying. He said a lot of stuff over the last few years. So since Oumuamua, and he stated that he wanted to put up these telescopes on the roofs of these locations across the United States. We never really saw anything from that, even though I think that's something that they already have got going. But then he flipped from that and said he wanted to go out and track this meteor and see if he could get any fragments. And, I had a lot of people who I know who were thinking maybe, he wouldn't follow through with that or nothing would come from it. So I applaud him for actually getting out there and then finding something. So now, regardless on what it ends up being at the end of the day, at least he went out there and attempted to find something. And we need a lot more of our people out there. Hey, Cashew, thanks for coming through. We need a lot more of our people out there doing the exact same thing. So, we know my good buddy Tim Senor has the UAPRG, the UAP, the research group there, and it's a grassroots effort. He gets out there, collects data on behalf of us, it's on behalf of humanity. He has stated many a times to myself that this is data that will be, he wants to make public immediately. So, and we just need more of those sorts of efforts going on without paywalls. And so that it adds to the catalog of data that we have as humanity. Because once again, these, you could say what you want about Avi Loeb. I look at the good things that people do and the things that they do that are beneficial to the movement, and I disregard any of the other junk, because you could say a lot of things about any of us. We all have had, I'm sure, moments in our lives that have not been the best or that we're not the most proud of, but there's, look at the good things that are done. So going back to those spheres that he found, so I had stated to someone that, if you look at, I want to say it was the Puget Sound UFO sighting, the one where I'm sure you guys are familiar with this one, where the spaceship appeared to look like it was in trouble, and it kind of let off this molten material that I think injured a kid and killed the dog. But if you look at that, I think what that actually is I think that may be something that all of these UAP do. They expend some sort of waste, which could be related to fuel. We if you've ever seen times where we've had our own aircraft that were having trouble in the air and they have to dump fuel for whatever reason, this could be a similar thing. So my idea is that I don't say necessarily that what he found came from the 2014 meteorite. This is material that you'll probably find all over the ocean, because if it does relate directly to these crafts and if it is something that they expend often, then you're going to find this stuff all over the ocean going back millions and millions of years. So I think there's a good chance, if you look at things that we've created, uh, that material wouldn't appear to be anything expelled from something that we've created. So we could take that off the books. Potentially is something that's created naturally under the sea, volcanic, potentially. So maybe that's still on the table. But I think you're gonna probably find this stuff all over the ocean. All if you trudge the ocean floor anywhere in the world, you're probably gonna find this material. And I'm more leaning to it being probably, especially based on the Puget Sound UFO sighting, that report, and others where they said they've seen UAP UFOs expend this sort of molten metal material, that it's definitely tied directly to extraterrestrials. So I think he's on to something taking that path. Even probably more, but I really think he should still continue the telescope project, because excuse me, I've always had an idea that if we as humanity were able to create some sort of network of cameras that looked up at the sky 24/7 and had them placed in different places around the country, around the globe, that we too would probably find a lot of data that way, just pointing the cameras up, like Tom King, who has cameras mounted to his roof 24/7, observing the sky 24/7. And Tom King has collected so much data that is crazy. Just one person. He's one person. And he's obtained so many different anomalous things just by pointing the camera up to the sky. So, yeah, I like it. I like it. So, with that being said, let me go ahead and go through some of these comments here. Bryce Folly, the ocean is a big place. 70% of the globe's covered. So that, leans to, and we'll talk about USOs on an upcoming show as well. We've done that before, but we'll revisit it. Um, so let me see. It would take lifetimes upon lifetimes to search it all, in my opinion. That's right. I agree. I agree. And I don't think they want to try because I think about what they would find down there, what they know is down there. Let's just say that. I think they know those things are down there and they really don't want to um, try to map the bottom of the ocean like that. Let's see. Lovey Love, which is Dr. Love. Also, I'm far from enough to know about chemistry, but these spheres could form once they hit the water. Okay, being what? Yeah, you mean from the multi material? The moment they hit the water, they solidify. Is that what you're saying? Aliens be chilling in Mariana Trench playing spades. I believe that one of the deepest parts of the ocean. They say there's a lot of sightings down there. Let's see, aliens playing human card games. Maybe they like Texas Hold'em. Some type of liquid mineral metal material that hardens in water. Yeah, yeah, I agree with that. Bryce's file. I mean, ORED says Bryce's finally agree. We have explored something like 4%. Yeah, exactly. 4% of the ocean in all of existence. Boats, no barbecue. Hey, thanks for coming through. Izzy Beth, so glad to see you here. Cashew the goats. Thanks for coming through. Bryce's Folly. Well, I think the U.S. Navy has a lot of it mapped. Whether or not it's explored is a topic for debate. Right. Which is why we know they know those things are down there. For sure. They know they're down there. Let's see. Okay, the love you says yes, Rob. Exactly. Okay. And Bryce's Folly. The known, the known unknowns, and the unknown unknowns. We know that we know that we don't know, and we don't know what they don't know. Couldn't have said it better, Bryce's Folly. Couldn't have said it better. Oh, Reds. Sounds like an interesting idea, though generally molten metal flattens out when it hits water, then explodes. Okay. Okay. Let's see. The idea of a civilization like Talokan, deep under the sea, like Wakanda Forever. That stuff could be similar to vibranium. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Art imitating life, imitating art, imitating life, and it just goes on forever. Chicken or the egg sort of thing. Um, yeah, yeah. So that's what it is exactly. So with that being said, I mean, there's a lot there. There's a lot there. I would love to see. He did state after they originally found it that this was weird stuff that he found. He wouldn't really go too far into what he thought it was. He did say that he wanted to get it back to shore, get it into a lab so they could try to take a look and figure out what it might be. And this is his report on that. So, applaud Aviglo for that. I want to hear what he has to say next. And with that being said, we do have Burchett showing pessimism, right? So Burchett, as we talked about earlier, there's been times where he's been super excited about the topic, super, optimistic about where we might be going with this. Then there's moments where he's the complete opposite, where it seems like someone behind closed doors has informed him that this, regardless on what you're doing here, this isn't going to go anywhere. And you kind of get that from him. He did do a interview recently where he kind of displays that, and I wanted you guys to see that because it kind of just goes towards where we're at in this as far as the state of confirmation. Like, are we on that road where we thought we were going, 4 weeks ago? when David Grush came out and gave the historic testimony in front of the Congress at the UFO hearing, or is it once again a mirror of 2022, where we had we had the momentum going at a high rate and almost seemed like it was going to boil over, only for it to be put back in the tube by delaying the UFO report. So let's go ahead and take a look and see what Burchett talked about and kind of go from there. Let's see here. Oh, it's muted. Let me go ahead and bring that back.
Do you think that the only way that we could see more hearings on this topic is if we get that select committee?
I think we could probably do it under the committee system, but it's the current committee system. But I don't think that I think the powers that be will squash it if we do that. That's why I think we need a select committee.
And when you say powers that be, who exactly are you referring to there?
People that make the calls. We couldn't. I mean, you're in the press. That I don't know if you knew this or not, but I was alerted by the press on the day of our press conference, where 4 of us were in there and talking about it, about what we expected from the committee and what was going to happen, and questions we were going to ask, and people that were going to be there. That we announced our expert witnesses. They were going to put us in one of the rooms that was under construction, for goodness sakes. We had people that we'd called to testify that said no. In fact, they had gotten a call from somebody at the Pentagon, and they were encouraged not to be there. One who was, I don't know about NASA, I don't know the connection there, but there was some inference that NASA was going to do their own press conference. It's just, and that tells you again, you've got 4 different organizations that are studying the same thing using tax dollars, and every one of them's claiming they're not studying it. And then all of a sudden they're out there studying it, and then lo and behold, Chuck Schumer comes out with a bill. It's probably going to cost money, and sure enough, I said if they start putting money into it, they're going to start studying it, and they don't need to study it. As in the media, you all should be as I am for transparency. Just release what you've got. We can handle it. Quit sending out these redacted files. We go into the SCIF and read these files, and they're just bogus. There's nothing in them. Everything's either whited out, or it's just so whitewashed that it just absolutely says nothing.
Yeah, so but I will say that generally after an interview like this, usually not too long afterwards, he comes back reinvigorated. So it's just when you are on because we won't ever have all the information that they get. We can only go off of what we see in interviews and kind of try to determine the energy of what might be going on there. And it's just these type of moments it kind of grounds you, brings you back to the reality that they want you to live in, that the government is just as strong. The secret government, I'll say, is just as strong as ever, and they are going to fight as hard as they can to not let this thing come out, regardless on if we feel like we have the smoking gun and it can't go anywhere but up from here, as we did feel right after the UFO hearing, and it was the general feeling of everyone. So I still have the hope there, but I think once again, that disclosure is going to have to come from the people. And with that being said, the people could include some of those in government that hopefully come out and have that moment of, wow, I really want to benefit my grandchildren, my legacy, my my family, the world in general, hopefully, but at the very least their family and your grandchildren, great grandchildren, all the descendants down the line that will end up taking on this world in whatever state we leave it in. So are we going to leave it in a state of what it currently is, or are we going to is someone going to sadly say probably sacrifice themselves initially in order for the greater good of the planet and humanity, and at least giving humanity a chance to move in a different direction if we choose to do so. It's a big decision to make. You know, some of those people inside the government, are more concerned about their futures in the government and positions that they may or may not be may not come accessible to them in their future versus what type of world their great grandchildren inherit. So hopefully they have one of those moments of clarity and look at it like, yeah, I'm gonna do this for my grandchildren, and that's when we're gonna see this thing really move. Or if we get one of those people who have hands on some of these materials and crafts that use the whistleblower amendment to protect themselves and give testimony. So, but if we only, and there's a lot of people that do this, there's a lot of shows, I'll say as well, that focus on the only way that this will be confirmed or the only way we can move forward is if the government admits to saying that this stuff is true. And if you believe that, if that's the only thing you believe, you'll be spinning your wheels for a for the rest of your life. Truthfully, ask um, Stanton Friedman, the late great Stanton Friedman. Ask a lot of these people who are now in their older years, who were the ones heading this topic in the beginning, and they were strung along because the belief was that the government will one day come out and say that this stuff was true. And look at them now; they're in their 80s at this point, and it still hasn't come, and it might not likely come in their lifetime. Now you have to ask yourself, do you want to be in that same boat? Do you know how frustrating that probably feels to have pushed for this, but being misdirected the entire time? So they kicked this thing down the road once, twice, three times. Next thing you know, 15 years of your life has passed, and you were stringing on the hope that the government would be the ones to open this up for you. So that's why we talk about this, because there's another path that should be taken, and a reason why they keep us all separated and want to see segregation and separation within the UFO community is because they know once we make this thing move together, once that starts to happen where everybody realizes that we all have the same goal and we're going to the same place, and we start banding together, like made a comparison to other times we marched for civil rights, like in the African American community with the March on Washington and the Million Man marches, and the way we came together during the pandemic, just as Americans, in it, just movements where you had a million people together at once doing something to get to facilitate change. And I think this is another one of those things that is important to humanity, regardless what color you are, what race you are, what background you come from. But we're going to have to get together and make one of those sort of movements where we just all band together. But like I said, the moment they see that, they're happy as long as we're segregated the way that we are currently within ufology, because they know a movement like that can't take place if we're all in separate corners of this thing. But hopefully we get to, by doing shows like this and having these kind of talks, we can start to wake up a lot of people and make people understand that it doesn't matter if you're on this show's team or you're on that show's team. We're all on the same team and we're all pushing for the same thing. So more to come on that. But let me go ahead and look in some of these comments here. Let's see. Mike Turner does not want to rock the money train off the track. Okay. Lovey Love says I would be furious. O Reds. Love agreed. We have something like 114 elements at the moment, but every element has multiple potential isotopes, in some stable, some not. Three of them, 112, 113, 114, are natural, non-occurring on Earth. It's good to know. They want separation amongst us because we won't be as effective to change the paradigm. Exactly freaking right. My representative is Virginia Fox. She was at the hearing and asked a good question about why the arrow is not saying the same thing Grush was, but she spun it politically and cut Grush off. And Izzy Beth is absolutely wrong. Love. If the two sides come together and realize it really kind of is us, we the people, against a corrupt capitalistic government. Psh. You're on fire there. Let me see. Bryce's Folly, Willette Orez Toothbrush, who is to say whether Lazar was right and that the S4 facility stabilized element 115, or if other non-public facilities have stabilized elements and made new composites. Yeah, and that's another thing that we'll end up getting into when we talk about Bob Lazar, because it's interesting to see where people fall on that. When we had the legend Jim Goodall on the show the other day, I told him, for the most part, I believe pretty much what Bob Lazar said, and it's funny that that's being talked about, because we'll end up talking about some of that here in the next segment when we talk about where we've been and where we're going in this movement towards confirmation. So that's actually perfect. Love, she was there. She's got to be 90 now. WNSNC has tried to get her voted out, but her spending power is strong. Yeah. So when it gets down to politics, man, and they stay in there based off of money, pretty much. Let's see. Okay. So yeah, that's a great conversation you guys are having in the chat right now, and something that we're going to end up touching on for sure. Long Island Bigfoot in the building. What's up, everybody? I'm sure you got to know about Long Island Bigfoot. He was on Spaced Out Radio with the Cryptid Huntress the other week. Has an awesome YouTube channel as well, and definitely go check out Long Island Bigfoot. He's a really good dude for sure. And let's see. Okay. All right. So let me get into, see what else did I have here. Oh, I wanted to show this because I thought that this is pretty. I hope everybody has seen this. No, actually, this is what we're going to do first. Is this Schumer? Yeah, we're going to get into just a brief thing about the Schumer amendment. And this is actually an older story, but kind of still ties into what we're talking about here. This is what I guess we can look forward to coming up on the 2024 NDAA. Let's go ahead and take a look.
And breaking news tonight from Capitol Hill, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer says he will introduce new legislation to declassify government records related to UFOs and UAPs. That is a big deal, and this just came down within the last couple of minutes, and it comes as things are really starting to take shape for the UFO hearings on Capitol Hill, with House leadership just today confirming that they are tentatively scheduled for the end of this month. The hearings will be happening in just a couple of weeks, but those in charge of the hearings have been tight-lipped about the witnesses that they plan to call, even telling us that the Pentagon has already begun running interference on the possible whistleblowers. More on that in just a moment. The announcement about the timing of the hearings comes after our reports here on News Nation, straight from whistleblowers who came forward with new evidence and allegations that the government knows more than it's telling us about alien vehicles and aircraft, UFOs, known in government lingo as unidentified aerial phenomena. Those whistleblowers include Air Force veteran and former military intelligence officer David Grush.
These are retrieving non-human origin technical vehicles, call it spacecraft if you will, non-human, exotic origin vehicles that have either landed or crashed.
Those claims getting serious traction. Here is Oversight Chair James Comer confirming the hearings to News Nation just today.
Yeah, we're going to try to get that in this month. I will tell you this, I've been surprised at the number of questions I've received on that hearing. So I think there's a lot of interest. There's certainly a lot of curiosity out there about that issue. And with what we're seeing with the majority of Americans right now, there's absolutely no trust or confidence in the government right now. So I think that has the potential to be a pretty substantive subcommittee hearing.
And one of the leaders of those hearings will be Representative Tim Burchett of Tennessee, who we had on the show this week. I really tried to press him on who he has lined up to go before the subcommittee to give evidence of what he alleges is a government cover-up of UFO evidence. I know you don't want to give away much. Can you give us just a little hint of what to expect with the hearings? I mean, do you have multiple people lined up at this point?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be, I would hope, a half a dozen people. We're going to have some people that I would hope from the scientific community. We're going to hopefully have some pilots. We're going to have some whistleblowers, some others. But, as soon as I announce it, the Pentagon puts a squeeze on them, which they've already started with some of our alleged witnesses. So we're going to keep it pretty close to the cuff. And then when we release it, it'll be public record to everybody, because I'm not going to play the secret game.
So who exactly could be coming to Washington and giving sworn testimony about UFOs, and how concerned should they actually be? Joining me now, Jeremy Corbell.
Burchett said, there's also turf wars by congressional staff. How, when, who is testifying? This is a question that everybody's trying to.
Okay, so they're getting in basically to what we already know, because this actually was a broadcast that happened prior to the U.F.O. hearing, so we don't need to listen to that part of it. But what I will say is, what I want to say is, thank you for coming through, Sharon Guy, and Long Island Bigfoot. Yeah, we definitely gotta have them on this show for sure. We gotta have all the guys on the show. I'm trying to create something that we could all be on, and then I also definitely want to get Long Island Bigfoot on too. So we're going to do that. So Sharon Guy, thanks for coming. And let me see what we got in here. Okay. All right. So with that being said, I believe that was what we had for the news. So this is where we obviously do
Ask the Chat.
So just asking the chat. And you guys kind of already said this earlier, but what did you think about Avi Loeb's findings? Do you have hope? Do you appreciate what he's done? And do you anticipate, do you think he's a good ally? And do you anticipate anything good coming from his research? That will be a question for the chat. So let me know. You can leave it in the chat, and we'll go ahead and jump out of the news so we can get into our topic for the day, which isn't going to be too long. We're going to go over the history of a few things, but let's get out of the news here. All right, and the main topic of the show, as you see at the bottom of the screen, and is the state of confirmation. Where are we? So we have been quite a few places on this journey. We're obviously not going to go over the entire journey because it's so many details, but we're going to actually start at a place that we're actually talking about here in the chat. So there's been a few big moments where we felt like, okay, this is a big moment. This is big for ufology. We're going in the right direction. One of those movements and moments in ufology history where this took place was none other than Mr. Bob Lazar. So back in 1989, as you remember here, the image on the left is where he ended up getting with George Knapp and went under a pseudonym of Dennis, who turned out to be, I guess, his manager at S4. This is where he came out and let the world know that there was extraterrestrial programs or retrieve craft that they were reverse engineering at Area 51. This is a very, very young Bob Lazar, as you can see here in the photo. Now, we can go down a rabbit hole with this, and I hope to have Jim Goodall back on the show so that we can specifically discuss Bob Lazar. You know, the first show we did, I wanted to highlight the great Jim Goodall and what he's done, from the beginning up until this point. So next show, I think we can have a casual conversation, and we'll do one around Bob Lazar and John Lear. So that'll be something that we're doing coming up. Hey, David Devine Broadcast. Thanks for coming through, David Devine. Hey, Robin Chat. All right. And so let me go ahead and so most of us know, people that are versed in ufology know about Bob Lazar, know the whole story, but we try to aim the show sometimes at people that are just coming aboard. Like there's a lot, and not necessarily just young people, but young people included, but even people who have just never touched this subject throughout their whole life, never realized that this thing was even a possibility of being real, may have heard the name Bob Lazar, but really don't know the story. So these are going to be a few moments that led us up to where we're at today, and can hopefully paint a picture as to how big these moments have been and what moments we could expect going forward. So let me go ahead. I'm going to read a few things to you here. So with the great Bob Lazar in 1989. So in 1989, a figure named Bob Lazar stepped into the public eye and forever altered the discourse surrounding Area 51 and extraterrestrial technology. Lazar's story, which he shared with the investigative journalist George Knapp, detailed his alleged experiences working at a highly secretive government facility known as S4, adjacent to the infamous Area 51 in Nevada. Lazar's claims were nothing short of astounding. He asserted that he had been hired to reverse engineer extraterrestrial spacecraft, specifically one he referred to as the, quote, sports model. According to Lazar, these crafts utilized an anti-gravity propulsion system powered by an element he dubbed Element 115. His revelations extended to the assertion that the U.S. government had made contact with beings from another world, and he provided intricate details about the technology he purportedly encountered. Now, despite the skepticism, Lazar's claims garnered significant attention and have continued to be discussed and debated over decades. His story has inspired documentaries, interviews, and investigations into the activities at Area 51. The fact that Lazar's assertions align with popular narratives about government secrecy, advanced technology, and potential extraterrestrial contact has contributed to the enduring fascination with the story. And like when Jim Goodall was here, I pointed out to him, I asked him, if there was if he could give a counter argument to a lot of those skeptics out there who point to things like, oh, he never went to MIT, all these reasons why Bob Lazar may have been, quote, lying, and give counter arguments to those things. And, Jim Goodall was there. He knew Bob Lazar prior to Bob Lazar working at Area 51. And one thing I like to point out is that, and I bring this up a few times. I know my brother would probably kill me if I kept saying this, but it's true, and I'm kind of proud of him for the fact. But I had a brother who didn't technically take the traditional path in schooling. Right? He didn't go to the big colleges or any. I don't even think he went to college at all. But he is currently working and has been working for the last 20 plus years at aeronautics at NASA. Right? So I I think and I know and I believe that when you listen to Bob Lazar's story, there are people out there in the government that look for some of the brightest minds in the country to involve them in some of these projects, whether or not they have the schooling. So just because you went to MIT doesn't mean you're going to be a candidate for them to come have you join a program. Some people have a raw knowledge, have a raw. I don't even know what I'm trying to. Well, I know what I'm trying to say, but they have a almost like a prodigy, right? Who naturally picks something up. And that's kind of how my brother was. And I always ask him, and he never wants to say. I'm like, dude, did they have you sign NDAs over there? Or is there reasons why you can't tell me X, Y, and Z? And, obviously, if he signed one, he couldn't tell me anyway. So I'm just beating a dead horse. But hey, Timothy, thank you, sir, for coming through. But yeah, that just kind of points to, that's why I don't really pay any attention to the stories when skeptics want to say, oh, well, he didn't go to this school. He only went to this school. I don't care about that because I know for a fact that they do still select people with bright minds, and I've seen it happen. So with that being said, we're going to get to, and this is 1989, so this is a big moment. Like, if you're going to look into history and just cherry pick the few moments where this thing really got pushed to the next level, this would have been one of those times with Bob Lazar in 1989. So one of the next moments, and this would be some of the ones that even maybe the newer people to ufology may realize or recognize, would be the Lou Elizondo. And there's going to be a theme with this coming through. So I'm just going to give you the background on the Lou Elizondo part of this. So Lou Elizondo, his notable contribution came as the head of Pentagon's Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, or ATIP, a secretive initiative aimed at studying unexplained aerial encounters. In December 2017, the New York Times published a groundbreaking article that exposed the existence of ATIP and highlighted Elizondo's central role in the program. The revelation not only confirmed the government's interest in UAPs, but also introduced Elizondo as a credible insider who had spearheaded investigations into the perplexing phenomena. Elizondo's subsequent departure from the government added another layer of intrigue to his story. He resigned from his position at the Defense Department, citing internal resistance to the investigation of UAPs. Following his departure, he became associated with the To the Stars Academy of Arts and Science, a research organization focused on exploring scientific anomalies and facilitating greater understanding of UAPs. Through interviews, public appearances, and his involvement with the To the Stars Academy, Elizondo had positioned himself as a vocal advocate for transparency and further government disclosure of information regarding UAPs. His credibility, grounded in his government service, has lent weight to his assertions and heightened public interest to the subject. In conclusion, Lou Elizondo's emergence in 2017 marked a turning point in the discourse surrounding unidentified aerial phenomena. His background in government intelligence, coupled with his efforts to bring UAP information into the public domain, has added a new dimension to the ongoing conversation about potential extraterrestrial encounters. Whether one views him as a whistleblower, a disinformation agent, or something in between, there's no denying that Elizondo's actions have catalyzed a deeper examination of the mysteries that linger in the skies. So, Lou Elizondo, right? So you can see the young Lou Elizondo there. I guess I don't know what department he was with then, with the tie and the suspenders, but you see him also to the right of that, and he states that this is from his tour in Iraq. So there's going to be a theme here, right? This is a whistleblower who came out and who was part of the government, who was part of the military, more importantly, and found it, whether, like I said, there's a lot of sides to this, and a lot of people, which I don't understand, look at a lot of the negative things that came out regarding Lou Elizondo. When once again, I only look at the positive sides of this. Let me stop right here because the GOAT Terry Hall just stepped in the building. Terry Hall, welcome to the show, sir. So yeah, and that's Lou Elizondo. And if you remember when this moment happened, you remember 2017 when the New York Times did the report. You remember the first time you saw Lou Elizondo on CNN, I believe it was. And then this clip here is from the 60 Minutes interview. But when you first saw him on CNN coming out making the claims that he made, that was another huge moment in ufology where it was like, whoa, okay, the lid is being blown off this thing. Like, what's gonna happen? Where are we going? So this is another one of those moments in the path leading up to today. And so one of the next things that happened after this would have been obviously Alex Dietrich, and who else? No other than Commander David Fravor. And we all know about the Tic Tac, one of the most compelling sightings, right up there with the Mr. Tom King's Phoenix Lights sighting that he recorded, is right up there with that, and another very important moment in our history here, right? So we had Commander David Fravor and Alex Dietrich. The encounter involving David Fravor and Alex Dietrich stands as a prominent example of a credible and intriguing UFO sighting that has captivated the attention of experts, enthusiasts, and the public alike. This remarkable event, which took place in 2004 off the coast of San Diego, not only defies conventional explanations, but also highlights the complexity surrounding unidentified aerial phenomenon, or UAPs, and their potential implications. David Fravor is a highly experienced U.S. Navy pilot, and Alex Dietrich, a fellow naval aviator, were both part of the USS Nimitz Carrier Strike Group during a training exercise on November 14, 2004, while flying FA-18F Super Hornets. Fravor and Dietrich were directed to investigate a mysterious object detected by the USS Princeton's radar system. What they encountered was a UAP unlike anything they had encountered before. The object, described by Fravor as a smooth, white, oblong shape resembling a Tic Tac candy, exhibited flight capabilities that defied known aerodynamic principles. It reportedly demonstrated rapid acceleration, instantaneous changes in direction, and the ability to remain stationary despite strong winds. Fravor's attempt to approach the object were met with evasive maneuvers that seemed beyond the capabilities of any known aircraft. The incident gained renewed attention in recent years due to the release of declassified footage recorded by the pilots' onboard cameras. This footage, along with Fravor and Dietrich's firsthand accounts, reignited discussions about UAPs and the possibility of encounters with advanced technology beyond human comprehension. The Fravor and Dietrich Tic Tac encounter is notable for several reasons. Firstly, the witnesses are seasoned military pilots with impeccable credentials, making their observations more credible and harder to dismiss. Secondly, the encounter aligns with patterns reported in other UAP sightings, including the ability to seemingly defy the law of physics. Thirdly, the incident raises questions about the extent of governmental knowledge and involvement regarding UAPs, as well as the potential national security implications. So once again, the Tic Tac incident, one of the more recent huge moments in ufology, where it's like, whoa, okay, we have radar imagery and potential actual imagery of something that is anomalous and real and in a solid craft that is maneuvering in ways that we don't understand. This is a UFO. So this is one of those moments. Go ahead and shout out Mike Jones. Mike Jones, thanks for joining the show here. So before we go any further, let me just stop here. Let's see. Mike Jones, what if aliens were the hybrids between fallen angels and earthly creatures? Ooh, that is deep. That is deep. Terry Hall, for those of you here that had to ride out the hurricane, I'm so glad you're safe and here with us. Yeah, funny thing, I missed the hurricane, right? So I'll go to Texas. I'm out there. Look, I'm in hot weather the entire time I get to Texas. I get to Texas and we're getting ready to leave the next morning and hear that there's a hurricane. First of all, it didn't compute to me. When someone said hurricane, I'm thinking it's in the Gulf somewhere and we're about to leave the hurricane. And they're like, no, California. Looked it up. Sure enough, a hurricane or tropical depression by the time it hit California was on its way. They never hit us. They always go towards the coastline and then they veer out back out to the Pacific. That's just how it always happens. Last time it did happen was 1997 and we had pretty bad rain. I was in Northern California at the time, so I didn't get the brunt of it. So I'm coming back home and I'm thinking, wow, I'm about to run into this tropical situation. And as soon as I get to Arizona, I got a little piece of it. We stopped at the gas station, got a little bit of the rain, and then continued on to California. And it was just sunny skies, just hot like normal. So yeah, totally missed it. But Izzy Beth, I know she's out here. And yeah, so let's see. Tornadoes that come with hurricanes are serious business. Yeah. Funny thing is, as soon as we get back to California, then there's all of a sudden hurricanes about to hit the area in Texas that we were at. So we had someone looking out for us for sure. Let's see. Yeah, me too. Me too. Part of me wanted to see it because we haven't seen rain in forever. So, but we did get a little dose at the gas station. So, yeah, with that being said, we're going to get into Ryan Graves. So, we all know the story behind Ryan Graves. Just to give a brief history on he's the one that came out, I think in 2021, stating that pilots on the East Coast have been seeing these cubes inside of clear spheres for like every day for a 2-year period. And he's even come out recently and says he's talked to pilots that still fly that out there and that are still currently seeing these things to this day. So a cube and a sphere, someone explain to me how that's a normal situation, right? So this was just pretty much piggybacking on Fravor and Dietrich, just furthermore stating that yeah, pilots are seeing crazy things, tic tacs, and then these things here, which obviously we know led to a lot of commercial pilots coming out eventually and also reporting the things that they've saw. So in general, in the last few years, we've come, which we knew before, we still knew this before, but we had a lot of data showing us that pilots, period, have been seeing these things in the sky and they're seeing them often. So, and I've always thought that's a concern and should be a concern to commercial flight, right? I don't want to fly knowing these things are out there. A lot of people say, oh, they're friendly. They're not going to interfere. I don't trust that. But the worst place for you to find that out is going to be at 35,000 feet. So at 35,000 feet, and you find out that, oh, actually they will interfere, and we can go into, which we will at some point, some of the theories like behind the MH370 flight. That was kind of weird how it disappeared, right? There's been other times too. If you, I don't know the China flight numbers, but there was a China flight within the last 2-3 years where it kind of just fell out the sky, literally. They showed CC closed caption video of it falling nose diving from like 30,000 feet straight down. So not a gradual descent. This thing nose dive. And you have to wonder, there's been pilots, even in the recent spy balloon case, who stated some of those things they were going up against did things like shutting off their electronics. So could you imagine shutting off the electronics of a commercial jet? What would happen in that situation? And wouldn't it be a bad thing to find out that the governments knew that some of these crashes that we've had over these years, tragic crashes, had something to do with UFOs or UAP? Wouldn't, and if you ask me, and it's just my opinion on that, I think that's one of the things that they don't want to come out, because if they admit now that they know about these UFOs and they've known about them, then they have to admit that they also know that they interfere with electronics on planes, which means they also have to admit that they've been responsible for some of the crashes that have happened. And that's a lot of stuff to admit to. And I think that's one of the reasons why they just won't let it go. Because if the real truth comes out about what they knew, it is going to be shocking. Not just that they also potentially have been abducting people, as we have seen with the David Paulides missing 411, and then the cattle anatomy situation that Linda Moulton Howe reports on. You know, if they admit to one thing, they have to admit to all the things. They're all connected together. So I kind of see why they wouldn't want to, but they're still going to have to. So with that being said, we're going to move on to our guy, right? The current guy in the moment, the latest guy to come out and take a stand on this and give testimony in regards to what he knows about, in this case, crash retrievals, even biological entities being retrieved, testified in front of Congress. He was part of a program where his sole job was to take information from people who were reporting on having encounters like this. So, you know, this is still currently one of the current big moments that we will discuss that one. Love you, love MH370. I wanted to incorporate it into the show today, but it would have took us way off track. But definitely we're going to talk about that. We'll do that in the next show or two here. But yeah, David Grush, the man of the hour, right? And if we look at, we made comparisons to him and Lou Elizondo, because technically they did the same sort of job as far as within the government and being part of the UFO programs. And we saw the campaign that they put out against Lou Elizondo. I mean, they blatantly put out statements, the DOD did, and Susan Go, about Lou Elizondo was not a part of this program. He had no input of this or that. And we had Harry Reid saying, yes, he did. And other things that proved that he did. He also filed complaints about reprisals from within the government prior to leaving. Same thing that David Grush went through, right? So the thing that I think ties all this together with just these examples are that these are all military guys. Not only were they, a couple of them actually within some of these government programs, but these are actually military guys who served in the military. We thank them for their service, and they were patriots enough to step out on behalf of humanity and side with humanity, which is where I think all patriots should stand. It's not about, you're not a patriot for the sake of the government. You're a patriot for the sake of your fellow human and humanity. In this case, within your country borders. But just being a patriot for humanity, period, or just a advocate, being an advocate for humanity. And I think that's where a lot of these guys stand together on that. And, there's going to be people out there that point at, oh, Lou Elizondo just did this, he did that. He's looking at the money side of this. He's writing a book. I would probably write a book too. You know what I mean? If I had any involvement, why not write a book? That's something that goes down in history long after we're gone. Something for later generations to read, to kind of put the story together. Why not write a book? I think people put a lot too much on that. But I think the common denominator here is that these guys were part of the service. They swore to an oath to, serve this country and its inhabitants, which is us. And I think that they once again, and Grush even kind of states that was one of the reasons why he felt a duty, and Dietrich has even said that she felt a duty to come out and say these things were for the benefit of the rest of humanity. So I think that this is what ties all this together. So that's where we're at with that. We know David Grush had gone through a slander campaign recently with that author Clint Klippenstein, who really made a baseless, ridiculous report on something that happened in Grush's previous life. We all have skeletons in our closet. We all have times in our lives that aren't our best moments. And for a guy to go ahead and look at those things within this guy's life and think that those are the things and give the reason why he's pointing these things out is because everyone else only had good things to say about him. Is that really a reason for you to do that? So with that being said, we know that that's going to be the fight against us trying to get to where we're going. There's going to be moments where they try to do exactly that and take the sails out of the movement of, in this case, for confirmation. We know there's going to be more of that to come. What I would say is if there are any whistleblowers out there, because I know these UFO shows, and I don't consider this a UFO show technically. I consider this a humanity-based show. That we just happen to be dealing with UFOs in this moment. But the Social Dig is definitely a bigger umbrella for more things than just UFOs, and that's in pretty much things that affect humanity, period. So with that being said, we will touch other things that don't necessarily tie directly to UFOs, even though UFOs will be a hot topic here because it's one of the biggest things affecting humanity in this moment we will probably ever deal with. So with that being said, yeah, that's how we're going to wrap that one up. So this was the photo that we all know and will go down in the books, like we said before, the historic photo from the UFO hearing this year. David Grush, Ryan Graves, David Fravor, and of course you got JC, Jeremy Corbell, and the great George Knapp. Regardless what the people say about the Skinwalker stuff, George Knapp was the one who helped bring out Bob Lazar and has done a lot for this subject. So shouts out to those guys as well. So with that being said, you already know.
Ask the chat.
As far as the state of confirmation, what should the next steps be? Like, what do you think? Where would you want this to go? You know where we're at. You know we're supposed to be hopefully getting some hearings in the Senate coming up. We know we have the Schumer amendment going into the 2024 NDAA. Like, where would you want to see this go? What, if you could make the call on where this would go next, what would it be? Where would you want it to go? Let me just look at the people in the chat here while we're waiting for anything here. Let's see. Strange how the Bible talks of aliens and angels coming from outer space. Mike Jones, that'll be something we're going to be talking about too. These are all, you're in the right place because this is, these are all great conversations to have. And let me see. Oh, somebody said Blue Cruz is in the building. Blue Cruz, thank you for coming through. And George Knapp is a real one, I think. Says love you, love. Yeah, I can agree with you. I could agree with you. There are some things that, I don't really go with, but, that could be, we could also have that conversation. Let me see. Terry Hall, one of these days, Rob will have to tell old neighborhood stories. LA in the 80s and 90s was a trip. Yeah, come on. We all know Terry Hall is the OG and he's a West Coaster too. So we kind of come from the same thing. So I would love to have Terry Hall on for something like that. Terry, we're gonna have to set it up. That's a fact. Terry Hall has to come on here. Let's see. Says, yep, all connected. Read up and agree 100% OREDs. Yep. And OREDs, Mr. Rob G, it doesn't matter what happens with the government. They will never tell us the truth ever, 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 ever. True disclosure will come from the people. Yep. You're definitely in the right place, OREDs. That's the mantra here. Just like I said earlier, I always say that's the cherry on top. If they ever come out and say anything, that's just the cherry on top. We can't really even depend on it. You'll waste your life literally, and that's the intention. So, okay, anytime, Terry. Yeah, okay. Well, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna definitely do that. I gotta get Long Island Bigfoot on here. David Devine broadcasted. Mikey's Beach. I gotta get all the guys on here. Craig the Hunter. Yeah, all the guys. Cashew. Okay, yeah, we already know. So we're gonna definitely do that. So with that being said, that's right, Terry. With that being said, we're gonna get into Mike Jones for sure. I say Cashew is a good judge of character, like David said, and a lot of the people that Cashew has introduced me to and brought me within their sphere are like-minded people, and it's something that I saw immediately, and I hope that goes both ways. But with that being said, let me get us into our. Actually, we have some music for this here. Let me get us into our Once Upon a Time in Ufology. And for this one, we're going to talk about the Foo Fighters. Not the band, the Foo Fighters. We all know there's a band. But these are the Foo Fighters from World War II, where the Foo Fighter band actually got their name from. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at this. And Foo Fighters, the Foo Fighter UFO phenomenon represents one of the most intriguing and enduring enigmas in the annals of modern UFO encounters. Emerging during World War II, these unidentified aerial phenomena witnessed by pilots on both sides of the conflict have ignited debates, speculation, and fascination that persists to this day. Exploring the historical context, eyewitness accounts, and potential explanations shed light on the complexities of this mysterious occurrence. Originating in the early 1940s, the term Foo Fighter was coined by Allied pilots who reported seeing unexplained and luminescent airborne objects during combat missions. Descriptions range from glowing orbs to metallic discs, then often displaying advanced flight capabilities that defy conventional aircraft technology of the time. The phenomenon, initially dismissed as secret enemy weaponry or natural phenomenon, grew more perplexing as the number of sightings increased. Eyewitness accounts provide a crucial glimpse into the nature of the Foo Fighter encounters. Pilot testimonies recorded in official reports and personal journals describe objects that seem to track aircraft, change direction instantaneously, and exhibit speeds far beyond known human technology. These reports were consistent across nationalities and led to speculation about whether these phenomena were advanced enemy aircraft, extraterrestrial vehicles, or even misperceptions of atmospheric phenomena. Several theories have been proposed to explain the Foo Fighter UFO phenomenon, One possibility is that these sightings were early examples of secret military experiments involving experimental aircraft or unconventional weaponry. However, this theory does not account for the worldwide nature of the phenomenon and the fact that pilots from different nations reported similar encounters. Another perspective suggests that the objects could have been natural phenomena, such as atmospheric electrical discharges or ball lightning. While this could explain some sightings, it falls short in explaining the complex maneuvers and interactions with aircraft reported by witnesses. The extraterrestrial hypothesis remains a possibility. Some argue that the Foo Fighters were evidence of advanced alien technology observing Earth, possibly driven by curiosity or even monitoring wartime activities. This theory is buoyed by the parallels between Foo Fighter encounters and contemporary reports of UFO sightings, suggesting a continuity of the phenomenon beyond the wartime context. In conclusion, the Foo Fighter UFO phenomenon, the historical backdrop of World War II, the consistent pilot accounts, and the absence of definitive explanations contribute to its enduring intrigue. Whether they were advanced military experiments, natural phenomena, or evidence of extraterrestrials, the Foo Fighters' legacy is one of mystery and fascination, underscoring the limits of human understanding in the face of the unknown skies. So that'd be the World War II Foo Fighters. Not the band, the Foo Fighters. World War II Foo Fighters. And this is something that, you look at today, a lot of people, and since then, and even before then, people have reported seeing orbs in the sky. These are essentially the orbs. Now, my UFO sighting, they weren't orbs, they were actual physical things. So the way I feel about it is I think some of these things, some of these crafts can illuminate themselves and they shine like orbs, or I think that might be what you see as orbs. But let me see. Let me go ahead and touch some of these here. Ultra Duty, U.S. Mankind. I'll come back to those and we'll do those at the end here. Okay, yeah. So that's what we'll do. So World War II Foo Fighters, once again, this is Once Upon a Time in Ufology. The reason why we do this is we cover historic instances of UFO encounters, because we have a lot of people who come into this and just don't know about these things. They just learned yesterday that there was something called a Tic Tac and it's potentially a UFO. They have no idea about the World War II Foo Fighters. So that's the reason why we do this segment on this show, to further educate and just kind of put that out there. If you go back and look at a lot of our past shows, you'll see a collective of different sort of historic things that we cover in this topic here. So with that being said, we will jump into our final segment here, which is Science Fiction to Science Fact Movie Edition. And what do we have for that? Our movie for today is going to be Interstellar. So if you haven't seen Interstellar, we're going to go ahead and give you a synopsis of it here. So Interstellar is a film directed by Christopher Nolan, set in a near-future Earth facing environmental collapse. The story follows Cooper, a former NASA pilot turned farmer, who embarks on a daring mission to save humanity. Along with a team of scientists, Cooper's journeys through a newly discovered wormhole near Saturn, leading to distant galaxies with potentially habitable planets. As they navigate the challenges of space travel, time dilation, and the unknown, the crew faces personal sacrifices and explores the intricate relationship between love, time, and the survival of the human race. Interstellar combines breathtaking visuals, intricate storytelling, and the complex scientific concepts to explore themes of exploration, sacrifice, and the power of human determination in the face of seemingly insurmountable odds. And that is our science fiction to science fact movie. And what we do with that is, it's a chance for you to look at movies that come out under science fiction and are looked at as science fiction, and to kind of look at them through a new lens, knowing that what we know now as far as UFOs being real, these things visiting us currently, and then what might be possible from there. So if you watch this prior to you waking up to the fact that these things are real, if you were to rewatch this, in a lot of the movies that we show here in this segment on Science Fiction Science Fact Movie Edition, it kind of hits you a little differently, because you look at these things as actually possibly being possible. You know what I mean? And it just takes on a whole different feeling. And like I said, we do this almost every show. We provide this here. So this is definitely a good movie watch, and I recommend that you guys go check it out. So before we get out of this segment, I'm going to go back through the chat here. Let's see. Okay. That's the Foo Fighters. Alright, I'll just go back here. Boop, boop, boop. Okay. All right, so I'll go through the chat real quick here. Mike Jones asks, how about Cashew as a guest? Heck yeah, anytime. She needs to be a guest anytime. David Devine confirms it, absolutely. So we will make that happen. And let's see. Magneticus is here, huh? Let me go ahead and... What's up to Magneticus? Thanks for coming through, good sir. Let's see. Terry Hall rolling from North Cal to SoCal. That's where I'm from, Northern Cali, Sacramento to be exact. And now I live in Southern California. Let's see. Cashew, Rob has the coolest transitions. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Let's see. Timothy Man says he agrees with Mike. Mike Jones says Foo Fighters, Nazi UFOs. That's what they say. That's what they think. They think maybe they could have something to do with that. Let's see. Mike says, oh, so Rob, really happened to Roswell Nazi UFO crash with Nazis in uniform. I didn't hear that. I'll have to look into that. And it's, we did touch briefly on when the Italy UFO thing was a thing. We kind of talked about that. We didn't really go into depth, but I think that's definitely something I'm going to have to write all these things down and we can cover that for sure. O-Red says, Mr. Rob G, have you ever thought of trying and recording your own CE5? Enough like-minded people in one spot attempting to contact might work, and it won't cost hundreds of thousands like Greer. I'm open to that. And actually, O-Reds, this is how I feel. I want CE5 to be a real thing. I think it's possible that it could be, on as far as consciousness goes. But then what I would like to say is I would, if I'll try it, and if I can't get it done, then these people who do this and can do it well, I would ask them, if I could ask them a question right now, would be if they would use those powers to help bring in disclosure, confirmation for the sake of humanity. if they have the keys to C5 and get the message directly to these ETs, then I would hope that they would want to agree to do that so that we could help bring in confirmation. Let's see. Now we're all Wu fighters, Timothy says, for sure. Let's see. Terry Hall's uncle was on the USS Missouri in World War II. Used to talk about the airmen who talked about Foo Fighters. They thought they were German secret stuff. Magneticus, not the bill, actually flies. The bill was anti-gravity technology. We're talking about Diglac. Let's see. Okay, these are the Foo Fighters. Let's see. Okay, so science fiction, science fact movie. Izzy Beth says, love the film. Yeah, it's kind of heavy too. At first, I had to watch it more than once before I was like, okay, got you. Let's see. Love You Love says, hey, she's down with that. All right. Love Interstellar. Let's see. Tried to watch it again last week. Had to turn it off. I can't do the whole father losing time. I see his kids grow up. Yeah, that it was one of those things that made it. That's why I had to rewatch it. I agree, Terry Hall. Please go ahead and smash that like button and share this thing. This is a good gathering place, and you can already see with the group that we have a great time. Imagine if we had more like-minded people in here too. This place would be crazy. This would be the place to be. But let's see. Right, Dave does have the week off, so we need to get all our SOR family on over here. Next show is Friday. Yeah, let's see. Gross, Dave, and SOR. Rob is here to tickle our paranormal fan. See Bryce and Folly. Yes, sir. Placerville. Oh, wow. Okay. That's right off the 50. I hate Highway 50. It's the worst highway to drive down. If you know Highway 50, if you can go another way, I would say, or unless you have excellent driving skills, then I would say go 50. Okay. Looking for the live stream. SR last night. Yeah. Dave's out for the week, man. Etiquette. He's definitely out for the week. And like I was saying that because I just come back from being on break, and I was saying in his chat, just coincidentally, that's when he said he was going off for a week. But I made a comment that sometimes, especially when you like I said, I do shows every few days. But the days I'm not doing shows, I'm doing research, so you end up being involved with the topic 24/7, and sometimes you have to unplug from it to get just like anything else, really. Too much of anything, and yeah, that's what we're doing. So we're back here. So Red says, Terry, I think Greer started out with the right intentions, but eventually turned into the dark side. Now it's all about the money. If you watch, I usually hate making opinions on people like that. I like to point out the good things that they do, but I do talk about how I didn't like and don't like the monetizing of certain things. If you watch the episode where it's called, I don't know what number it is, but it's the false flag theory show that we did here. We kind of touch on that in the monetization that Greer does of a lot of these things. So that'd be a good one to take a look at. And let's see. Okay. Yeah, Dave's just taking a break. Well-deserved break, too. So, now I'm done with the chat. So now we can go ahead and get out of science fiction to science fact. And then we can get into what we normally do here. Which is talking about why we do this. We do this for the positive progression of humanity. As you see at the end of every show, we make sure to remind everyone of that. That's the reason why we do it. And I'm so glad that you guys all feel the same way. I mean, you know, I don't anticipate, doing any gimmicky things or, doing anything but the normal thing. And I think a lot of like-minded people kind of resonate with that. You know what I mean? And this is all it's about. If we don't do it for us, then who's going to do it? Definitely not the government. We already know that. So we have to do it for us. As you see at the bottom of that screen there's people from every walk of life. That's just humanity, and that's the reason why we do this. So once again, you can call in at any time. It's 24/7 line, message line, live line, if we can get it going. 856-843-3444 or 856-THE-DIG. You can leave a message. You can talk about today's topic. You can talk about topics you would love for us to cover, and we'll definitely do that. You can leave a message just with your thoughts on the show. You can leave a message and talk about your experiences, or you could just call and say hi. Sometimes that's a cool thing to do. You can just call, say hi, and yeah, we can do that. Just like I say, Derek Galloway, Magneticus calls a line as well. We've communicated through that. I've received some pretty cool pictures from Derek Galloway regarding, the NASA astronauts on the moon, on the quote-unquote moon, which we'll do a show about that. I don't know how you guys feel about the moon landing, if that happened, and that's a pretty controversial one, so I think we'll do that there. So with that being said, I want to thank everybody for coming out. I think you guys are awesome. So Terry Hall, you are the bomb. You love this place. You are freaking cool back. You want to call, but you don't want to ruin the show. You can never ruin the show, Bryce Folly. That's exactly why it's there. I would love to that's why it's a social dig. It's a place for us to all talk, not just in the chat. I would love to have you guys call in, and if you leave messages, what we'll do is we'll put those messages together and then air them like on an upcoming show. And I definitely want to include you guys in the show. That's the purpose of it for sure. Have a few shots, Bryson. That's for sure. Have a few shots, kind of loosen up and kind of talk about what's on your mind. Same thing you're saying in the chat, you can say on the line and kind of join. That's why the motto of the show is come join the conversation. Dr. Love, thanks so much for coming through. She had a great time, and we had a great time having you here. Definitely want to thank you for coming. And I want to make sure I just touch everybody in this chat here. So let me go back here. Oh, Reds, thanks for coming. Bryce Folly, thanks for coming. Lovey Love, thanks for coming. Mike Jones, thanks for coming. Magneticus, thanks for coming. Timothy, thanks for coming. Derek Galloway, thanks for coming. Let's see. Izzy Beth, thanks for coming. Cashew, appreciate you coming. David Divine Broadcasting, thanks for coming. Long Island Bigfoot, thanks for coming. Electra Cuttlefish, I missed you. Hold on. Thanks for coming.
Ask the chat.
Had to do that for you. Thanks for coming, Electra Cuttlefish. Let's see. We got, what else do we got here? Oh, Reds, if I didn't say it, thanks for coming. And let's see, Terry Hall, the great Terry Hall, thanks for coming. Tom King as well, the legend Tom King, thanks for coming. Let's see. I know I'm doing this the slow way, but I want to make sure I touch every person that did join the conversation today. And let's see. Blue Cruise, thanks for coming. Sharon Guy, thank you so much for coming. And we're almost back to the beginning. And thanks for being involved today. I have a lot of chats that I'm flipping through here. Appreciate your participation. And let's see here. Okay, I think we're back at the beginning here. Bryson. Okay, that looks like that is it. That is it. Okay. So with that being said, once again, the number to call, and please call. So let me know, because the line is live every show. So I just have it set on Do Not Disturb. But if you're ready to do the live call-ins, let me know. That can happen immediately. So effective next show, we can start doing that. So I'll bring it up in the beginning of the show, and you guys just let me know what you want to do. And then outside of that, is there anything further? Nope. Everybody's saying goodbye. Okay, great. Glad you guys can hang out with me today. We're right up on where I wanted to be, so right about the 2-hour mark. So thank you guys so much for coming out. My name is Mr. Rob G. This is The Social Dig. You guys have a great rest of your day. Take care.